Welcome to the Positive Spiritual Living Podcast, brought to you by Unity on the Bay. This is your positive path for spiritual living.
Wow. I shared it at the 9 o'clock. I didn't realize all the music that was going to be sung today. I didn't know the daily word. But this has been really an expression of my last couple of days, because this has been my prayer. Sing through me, God. And to come in this morning and to hear them sing that, to come in this morning and hear them sing Imagine, all we need is love. And then to have the daily word be about anchoring heaven here on earth is, to me, tangible ways in which God has said to me that there is this presence that is working all around me. And that if I do the work, if I sit back and truly allow myself to embody the 5 unity principles to the best of my abilities, there will be tangible ways in which God will say, and here I am. And here I am working through you. So I feel so blessed. Let's all just say, thank you, God. Thank you, God. What an experience to be able to see the ways in which God is expressing through us and through this spiritual community. And the daily word is perfect because I actually have a heaven joke for you. So Mother Teresa goes to heaven and God meets her at the pearly gates, and first thing out of his mouth is actually, hey, are you hungry? It's like, okay, well, yeah, I kind of am hungry. So God opens up a can of tuna and gives her some saltines, and they have a feast. And so Mother Teresa, while she's eating her tuna and crackers, is looking down at hell, and she sees that they're eating like steaks and lobsters and pastries and all this really good food, but she's very humble, so she won't say a word about it. So the next day, God comes to her and says, all right, Mother Teresa, are you hungry again? Let's eat. She says, sure. And he starts to open up another can of tuna and brings out the saltine crackers, and she looks down and she sees that now they're having like caviar and souffle and all this chocolate. And she's like, God, I don't mean to be ungrateful, but how come they're having feast for kings down here and this is what we get? And God just looks at her and says, well, Mother Teresa, just for the two of us up here in heaven, it doesn't pay to cook. I said it better at the 9 o'clock, by the way. But you get the point. And you get the point because I truly believe if you're like me, you thought about what it's going to be like in the afterlife, in heaven. One of the most beautiful things that I think I've gotten from the Unity movement is what was represented in that daily word, which is that life is not necessarily meant to be lived to get to heaven. Life is meant to be lived from a place of heaven. Because heaven is a state of consciousness, is a state of mind, and heaven can be what we experience day to day. It's not about living to get to heaven. It's about living from the place of heaven. And we've been given these wonderful, wonderful tools in order to be able to experience that. And we have all, as a spiritual community, been really blessed to be going through the 5 unity principles and be using the book by Reverend Ellen Davenport, because I believe that to anchor heaven on earth, all we have to do is to truly work at embodying the 5 basic unity principles. And today, I want to share with you the 5th one. And the 5th one, to me, is the one that I feel really connected to in many ways. And that's because, for me, unity is practical Christianity, right? It's about putting it into practice. To make it work in our lives, it's to make it so that it is part of our experience. And the 5th unity principle does that. The 5th unity principle says, knowing and understanding the laws of life, also called truth, are not enough. A person must also live the truth that he or she knows. And think about it, isn't that how it is for most of the knowledge that we have? I think knowledge is powerful, but it is powerful to the level and to the degree in which we actually use it. So I can have this knowledge that eating healthy foods is great for me and my body. But if I actually don't use it into practice, put it into practice, and even though I have the knowledge of what's healthy, I choose the other stuff, then did it really have that much power for me to know the kind of foods that I should be eating? And so that is why I really value the fifth unity principle, putting it into action, making it so that we can figure out different ways of being. And so when I listen to that awareness, how do I feel? It's like how I feel this morning being in front of you guys after that beautiful music and all these signs from Spirit and God saying, yes, wow, beautiful to be here present in this moment. And so that for me feels like connection, being fully connected to all of you, all those watching on Facebook, all those not watching on Facebook, feeling connected, feeling free, feeling joy, feeling peace. Now, when I'm not necessarily anchoring heaven on earth, and maybe I'm having an experience of hell, what does that feel like? It feels constricted. It feels fearful. I feel anger. I feel hurt. I feel guilt. I feel shame. And I don't know about you, but I have quite a bit of those moments where I feel guilt and shame. How many of you have ever, maybe not all of you, but how many of you have actually said something or done something, and right after you say it or do it, you think to yourself, oh man, I wish I had thought before I spoke. Or, oh man, yeah, I see some hands going up real quick. You didn't even need to put your hands up, but I get it. And you're like, if only I would have slept on it before taking that action, maybe the result would have been different, right? Now, I think that there's validity to it, to step back and be able to just separate ourselves from our reactions. But it's also really, I think, more about what we do in that moment when we step back, what it is that we do when we sleep on it. Because just sleeping on it or taking a few moments doesn't mean that your reaction won't be the same if you had just spoken. What do you do in those moments? Well, I think we're really blessed because Reverend Ellen Davenport in her book says the fifth unity principle basically gives you a handy checklist for when you do step back so that the response, the way in which you're acting out, the things that you're saying, really come from that place of love, really come out of an expression of the truth of who we are. And so I wanted to go through that handy checklist, and I'm going to invite you all to maybe think of a situation, especially a challenging situation. She talks about the fact that, when everything's going well, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to always have your little checklist out, but especially in those moments where you are being challenged or where you feel you're being challenged, where you feel like there is something to be healed between you and somebody else or a situation, bring out that checklist. So just think about an experience that you may be having and go through the checklist with me on it. And so the first part of the checklist is the first unity principle. God is all is the name of that chapter, and I love the chapters that she uses. Do I affirm divine intelligence and love in this situation? To me, what that says is, do I trust the presence of God to be in that challenging experience, that challenging individual, whatever it is that I may be going through? And it doesn't necessarily mean that you see God in that experience. It means that you trust that even though you may not see it, God and love and peace are there. And for me, what happened this morning with the music, these tangible ways of recognizing God in my experience, that's what I sort of put into my heart so that in those moments where I don't necessarily see the presence of God, I can say, but you know what? It was there, and it is here. The second unity principle, you are God. Question there in your checklist is, do I remember my own divinity and that of others involved? In that situation, are you honoring the wholeness of who you are? And are you honoring the wholeness of all other living beings? Now, you may think that whatever you may be going through is just a you thing, but we are energy. We are interconnected. And so any challenge that you may be going through, any issues that you may be thinking about how to handle and how to respond to it really affects all of the human family. And so can we own that? Can we recognize that? And this is where she talks about this difference between sacred activism and activism. And so quite a few of you probably know that I've been an activist for most of my adult life, maybe even before then. And I've, evolved in how I view certain things. And so this idea of sacred activism versus activism. Activism sometimes leads to, or it comes from the place of, I'm not good enough, somebody is judging me, there is a lot of bad things out in the world, and so I have to fix it. And in many times, what we end up doing is judging the people that maybe we think are discriminatory, or blaming and judging the people that we think are the reasons for injustice. Sacred activism actually honors everybody who is involved. And they look at the ways in which not being against something, but how do we stand for something? How do we express love and wholeness and support the world in experiencing their own wholeness? This is where emotional intelligence comes in, to be able to recognize why it is that we are responding or reacting in a certain way. Emotional intelligence is the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. Yesterday in the morning, I actually had what was supposed to be a small Halloween-themed play date for my son and a few friends. It ended up being like a party of like 12 4-year-old children. There was wine involved for the parents, so we were good. But at one point, my son poked one of his friends. And so I picked him up, I took him to the other room, and I sat next to him, and I said, "What's going on? Why did you do that?" And he said to me, "Well, I'm hurt. He hurt me." And I said, "Okay, well, tell me a little bit more about it." And I was floored. He said, "Well, Arlo was talking to Ella, and Ella is my best friend, and Arlo doesn't know that Ella's my best friend, and so Arlo hurt me." I was floored that an almost 4-year-old could speak to me about the reasons why he was having a reaction and the feelings involved in having that. Made me feel like, hey, I'm not screwing this up so much with the parenting thing. But it also gave me a lot of gratitude, not only for him being raised in that way, but also because, now that we have us as a community, how great it is that we can ask ourselves those questions. What is going on within us that is making me react in this way? What is it that's really going on inside of me that feels hurt and makes me respond in a way that maybe isn't for the highest good of myself and all that are involved? The third unity principle, co-creating with God. Do I take responsibility for attracting this difficult, challenging situation into my experience and know that its outcome for me will match my thoughts and feelings about it? Do we take responsibility for our actions? And not just our actions, but do we take responsibility for the energetic shift that occurs because of our actions? Because again, we are interconnected and we are energy. And so the actions that we take affect the whole. So are we willing to take responsibility? Are we willing to recognize that in that moment of making that decision, there is an opportunity for greater good? Now, this has really been coming up for me a lot because of, my evolution in activism, and also because of the political atmosphere that we're in. The energy is important. And so, for example, I've been seeing a lot on Facebook and on TV and talking to people about the people that are for a candidate and for a certain value system, and the people that are really just against a candidate and against a value system. And you may think that that's just semantics, but they matter because it's energy. And so when we are against a candidate and a certain value system, what is it that we're doing? We're resisting. We're resisting that energy. And what happens when we resist? It persists. We are energy. So the energy of resisting causes what? Resistance. And we're deadlocked. There's no evolution there. There is no opportunity for greater love and peace to come out of that. But if we're for a candidate, if we're for a value system, if we're for a way of being, if we're for love, community, recognizing our interconnectedness, the word for, what does that mean? Forward. Progress is able to come out of that. And so being for something, standing for something, actually is the best way in which we can create the world that we want to live in, the experience that we want to live in. The fourth principle, communion with God. Have I aligned myself with God, the universe, the good, and received guidance before I act? Now, some of you may be surprised with this. Some of you may not be. But I actually don't go into guidance with every single thing that I have to think about or any kind of decision that I have to make. You know, I wish I did. But in the moment, sometimes I don't. And do I believe that if I don't go into prayer and meditation, that the whole world's gonna, break down because of my decision? No. Like sometimes it works out, right? Maybe. Sometimes it doesn't work out, maybe. But what I do know is that when I go into prayer and meditation and act from a place of guidance, I am working and allowing God to work through and as me for the highest good of all involved, including myself. When you have those four things, when you've gone through the four little checklists that Reverend Ellen Davenport gives us, and so then all of a sudden you have, do I recognize the presence of God in this situation? Do I recognize that spark of divinity within me and the wholeness of all those that are involved? When I have the vision of what it is that I want to create for myself and for all others, and when I add being in prayer and being in guidance, then all we have to do is what? Do it. We have it's a little equation that I want to show everybody because it's simple. And so I'm going to ask you, this is going to be a non-cell phone free day. I'm going to invite you to take your cell phones out, and I want you to take a picture of this slide, and I'm asking you to actually put it on Facebook. Share it on Facebook, this equation. You could even tag me if you'd like. The reason is, for the last couple of weeks, we have been giving you the ways in which you can show and experience what this means to you, to all those that will ask on Facebook. It's a really great, it actually totally symbolizes everything that I want to do today in our talk. But it also is going to have a lot of people asking you on Facebook, what the heck is that? And know that you now are able to respond and share from your experience what that means. Now, a lot of people will be saying this, right? And there will be a lot of people having different ideas of what it means and what action means. Reverend Ellen Davenport says, living the truth will take as many forms as there are people on earth. Some will look very busy taking action, and some won't. What truly matters is what's going on in their hearts and minds, and you can never tell by looking. Now, that's something that I'm still learning. Because I'm such a doer and I'm so action-oriented, when I don't see action taking place, I'm very quick to judge. But I'm working on it because the reality is that I'm not sure, I don't know what are the actions that people are taking in their own lives. And action can really can be releasing. And that's not something that is physically seen, right? But what I do know, so I don't know to judge, but what I do know is that inaction in my life means that there's going to be some stagnation. Because inaction for me in my life has looked a couple of different ways. One of the ways has looked like procrastination. Right now, I was very blessed a few months ago to be asked by Unity Worldwide Ministries to lead a group of ministers in creating a process for the Unity Worldwide Ministries and the movement. And I've realized, especially while I was working and just preparing to be with you today, that I have not taken certain actions out of a fear of not being good enough, out of a fear of failing with this group of ministers, out of a fear that I've just added so much to my plate that I won't be able to get anything done. But what I want you to know is that through the opportunity to be with you today, I recognize that, and I turn it into prayer and meditation, and I am asking to be divinely guided to what the action is being requested from me. Now, for some of you, inaction looks like procrastination. For some of you, for some of us, it may look like apathy. I know that that's also happening in our political system right now. Apathy. People not thinking that their vote doesn't matter, that their voice will not be heard. And so therefore, why even vote? Why even use my voice? Well, I will tell you that just like procrastination to me is a result of fear, apathy to me is a result of fear and hurt. Because at one point, maybe we did believe that our voice mattered. Maybe we did believe that our vote mattered. And because we didn't think it did, because of the result, we didn't think we were valued, we don't want to be hurt again. But we have to work through our hurt. We have to work through our apathy to recognize that every little piece of action, every energy we put into all of our actions has such a ripple effect. It's like, you've heard the little story that a hurricane started off a butterfly flapping its wings in Africa. If that's what can happen, think about the ripple effect of you taking sacred action from the place of love and the place of wholeness. Ellen Davenport says, each of us is creating for ourselves, according to our soul's paths, our levels of awareness, and our inspired action, our vibrations, every thought and feeling contribute to the one mind, which means every thought and feeling becomes part of the whole forever. It all matters. Take a deep breath. Take that in. It all matters. Now, that doesn't mean to say, just go out there and take some action, because I've done that. And it doesn't necessarily turn out the way that I think is for the highest good, because it's about taking sacred action, guided action, authentic action. And this is where sacred service really starts to bubble up. Yesterday, after the play date of 12 kids, I went and I officiated a wedding. And as I was leaving the wedding, I was just so filled with love. And I thought to myself, this is what life is all about. It's all about service. It's all about love. And so if we go through that checklist of the 4 unity principles and then take action, as the 5th unity principle says, we are in service to love and from love. And so can we take ownership of that? Can we take action from the place of love and through that fall more deeply in love, more madly in love with who we are, with who God is in our lives, and with all those around us? Can we take action that when we look back on it, we say, wow, what a blessing it was to experience that, because that was love. That was service. That was God working through and as me to a level that just allows it to open my heart and be more of who I was meant to be. Now, how many of you realize that you are here by divine appointment? That love, that service, that energy, that ripple effect of energy brought you into this experience at Unity on the Bay today. At Unity on the Bay, we have a beautiful mission statement. And I don't know if you remember it, but basically it says that we are a catalyst for spiritual awakening, evolution, and action. Now, the we is not the walls of Unity on the Bay. The we is each and every one of us that is here today. You and I are catalysts for spiritual awakening, evolution, and action. Can you own that? Can you, in this moment, take a deep breath and feel God expressing through and as you, being a catalyst for spiritual awakening, evolution, and action? Guiding you from the place of love, guiding you from the place of inspiration, guiding you from the place of knowing that peace and good are here. Are you ready to be a catalyst? bring out your cell phone again, because we're going to be catalyst again. Bring out your cell phone. I'm not kidding. I'm taking mine out of airplane mode, and I'm getting to my text messages. So everybody bring out your cell phones and go to your text messages. We have, in the last couple of weeks, been giving you the opportunity to go deeper into the 5 unity principles and to know how to talk to people about how Unity on the Bay has changed your life, inspired your life. So I'm asking you now to create a group text message and text 5 people that either don't come to Unity very often or have never been here before. And so choose your 5 people. I am going to choose Todd Hedrick, for those of you who know him. I'm going to choose, let's see here, my sister, my brother-in-law. And I'm just going to start with whoever starts with the letter G. Let's see, Sarah Galvin. Now, text them right now. I'd like for you to join me at Unity on the Bay next Sunday. I'd like to tell you this week how it's changed my life. And then send. This is what it means to be a catalyst for spiritual awakening, recognizing the power of the 5 unity principles in our lives and inviting other people to share in that. Now, it's not just about them showing up next Sunday. By the way, I hope you get a text message back before you even leave today. But once they're here, they're experiencing our community, but more than experiencing our community, they're experiencing each and every one of us. And each and every one of us with this sacred honor and opportunity to be a minister. And Reverend James Tillett Freeman, who is known as the poet laureate of the Unity movement, wrote a wonderful poem about what it means to be a minister. And I want you to hear some of the excerpts, some of these words, and really look at how you can embody them. Because if you are walking the walk of unity, of our principles, this will just flow from you freely to all those around you. Everyone a minister. It means to make yourself a servant so that others may feel their mastery. It means to give so that those who lack may receive. It means to love so that those who feel unloved may have someone who never rejects them, someone with whom they can always identify themselves. It means to hold out your help to those who ask and deserve help, and also to those who do not ask or deserve it. It means to keep faith and to keep on keeping faith, even when you yourself find little reason for believing, so that those who have no faith can find the courage to live. It means not merely to live a life of prayer, but to turn your prayers into life. More life for you, more life for those to whom you minister. It means to be God-centered and human-hearted, to involve yourself in humanity and to keep your vision on divinity, and so draw forth in all around you the human form divine. This is what it means to be a minister of God and a minister to man. Philippians says, whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. This is how we make our vision come alive, humanity inspired to its divinity. It's how we make it a reality by being the expressions of these principles, by putting these principles into practice in our everyday, challenges or not, to put God first and the human family within our hearts. This is how we anchor heaven on earth. And so let us walk this path. Let us invite all others to join us walking this path, and let us walk this path, walk the walk together. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful journey. Thank you. Namaste. So we're going to invite our ministers to come up here because we have a few little things to tell you.
Well, as you might be aware, next Sunday is the end of our 5 Unity Principles programs, and the purpose of this program has been to help you, all of us, understand the essential teachings of unity and feel confident and comfortable in communicating it with others.
And so you've just texted 5 people, and you're going to be getting their text back, and you're going to be talking to them today. But we also are inviting you after, as you're leaving, to pick up these beautiful postcards that we have, our ushers have. It's an invitation so that you can also give it to other people in your life. Tell them about next Sunday and being with us next Sunday to be a part of this walk, this journey with us.
No doubt the music will be excellent next week as always, but the real reason why you want to bring your family and friends next Sunday is because I am going to present the most amazing talk that I have ever presented in all my years of ministry. Okay? So, I know this because my staff told me so. We really do want you to bring your family, bring your friends next week. The talk will be written around the idea of the unity way of life being your opportunity to create your own way of being and your own way of religion in life, which to me is one of the core beauties of this experience that we call unity. So I guarantee you will have a wonderful morning together, and I really hope that you'll be fully advantageous in your desire to bring people that you've been looking to introduce the unity way of life to. I promise you it'll be an exceptional Sunday.
Beautiful. And they'll be able to experience how we do walk the walk as our ushers come forward. One of the ways in which we express and live out the unity principles is through our giving. And we want you all to know that 10% of whatever is received this today through our love offerings and tithes, 10% of that is going to go towards Haiti and supporting them after the hurricane that they just experienced. Yes. So know that your love offerings and your giving is not only an expression of you giving back to the spiritual community that has supported you and loved you and seen the truth of who you are. It is a way in which you allow God to express through you to support others and this human family as we all awaken and lift up to this vibration of healing and love. So I invite you to take your love offerings to your heart and just let it be so. Take a deep breath. And let us speak our love offering blessing together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Amen.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Positive Spiritual Living Podcast, brought to you by Unity on the Bay, a spiritual community located in Miami, Florida. Unity on the Bay is supported by the generosity of its community. If you'd like to make a donation or learn more about Unity on the Bay, please visit unityonthebay.org. You can also follow Unity on the Bay on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for even more positive spiritual inspiration. Until next time, thanks for listening and many blessings. Namaste.